Good morning, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. Today is Tuesday, September 20th, and the moon is in Cancer. It moves into Leo at around 4:30 p.m. I think it's 4:36 or 4:38 p.m. on the east coast of the U.S. Of course, that shift in the moon is palpable because while both the Cancer and the Leo moon definitely have big feelings, it's when the moon moves into Leo that we actually maybe express them in a verbal communication instead of maybe a few grunts and groans and not wanting to talk about it, which can happen in Cancer. But today the story is the story of Venus, the planet of love, the planet of our essential needs, the planet that determines our relationships. Early in the morning, just after midnight, she makes a trine to Uranus. That makes us very open to sort of out of the box, unusual, different. There's a flow of energy. Uranus is the energy of change, so we might find ourselves changing around an issue of values or even an issue of relationship. We may get a different feeling about something. Sometimes when Uranus and Venus get together, there's this energy of friends catching fire, right? Like somebody you're a friend with, suddenly you look at them, and I know it's happened to you. It's happened to me. It's probably happened to all of us at some point, where there's somebody in your life that's been there and they're a friend, and suddenly one day you wake up and you have different kind of goggles on and you see them in a different way. And, sometimes we go for it and it completely disrupts and changes everything. And it could be disruption for good or bad, or sometimes it's just a thought and then it goes out of our head and we go on with our friendship. So that can happen with this trine. But then later in the day, Venus makes an inconjunct to Saturn. And whereas the trine to Uranus is very freeing and, kind of makes you feel like, it's all possible. When you get to Saturn, you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And not that it's necessarily a bad thing or that it was a mistake, but what Saturn in conjunct Venus can do is it can bring up anxiety. It can bring us up anxiety. Did I make the right decision? Did I make the right choice, right? And because Venus is in Virgo, while it's a good position for Venus when it comes to seeing what needs to be done, sort of the nuts and bolts of relationship, being willing to work with somebody and work on your relationships and make the necessary adjustments. It is not the most confident position of Venus. And so Saturn has a little bit of a more of an influence here. So the interesting thing is, because Venus is activated by both Uranus and Saturn on the same day, it indicates that Uranus and Saturn are getting closer and closer to their final almost square to one another. And so what we're going to see as we move through September and October, we're going to see that pressure of Saturn-Uranus square become more and more evident. And it is a last quarter crisis in consciousness square where we question authority. And in the nature of the square itself, we're questioning authority. We're reorienting the structures of our lives. But in the actual planets themselves, that's also the theme. So it's sort of a doubling down or a tripling down on the energy of the struggle between structure that supports and structure that oppresses. And how do we go about making the changes, doing what we need to do in order to be capable, be able to be who we truly are. How do we structure our lives so we can be the best we can be, or we can be our unique self without the onus of, what everybody else thinks, or even what those in, we'll put a quote around it, authority may think, the priest, the minister, the parent, and just generally society. Like, how can we accept ourselves even if society can't accept us? And that's that's not the whole story, but that's a possible way of reading that. So that's what's going on. There's a couple of little birds up there. I don't know if you can see them. They're pretty well camouflaged. But have yourself a wonderful day. Like, subscribe. I did do the week ahead. I said that yesterday. I actually did 2 weeks ahead. So it's the Astrology of September 18th through the 30th. And there is a timestamp if you don't want to listen to the whole thing. And you just want to listen to the week that you're in. And then you can go back next week and listen to the week that you're in. All right, guys. Have yourself a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Namaste.